Should have a little countdown.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. All right, here we go. Live again. Well, kind of live. People will be hearing this after the fact,
It's like
but it's definitely live enough. So I'm here with Paul Oneid. So for those who don't know, Paul was just at Elite FTS and he just dropped off for a second. Son of a bitch. There he is. There he is. Hey.
how did I lose you?
I don't know. This is what happens, man. Everything is running smooth as soon as I press the record button. Shit hits the fan. We're still recording, so we're good. We're just gonna keep this rolling. Keep
All
this
right.
party going.
Fire it up.
So, like I was just saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the gremlins on the internet. I'm here with Paul Oneid, and we got to meet. We had talked prior to, but this was the first time we really got to sit down and chat for a decent amount of time when you were over at Elite.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that was on I think 20th, somewhere around there. A couple weeks ago,
Yep.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, or those who may not know who you are, you've had a tremendous background in the world of powerlifting. You're one strong son of a bitch.
Done
And
some
now
stuff.
you've done some stuff, done some things.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into a little bit of that just to kind of start off?
Sure. Competitively, I squatted 805, benched 430, and deadlifted 730 at 242. Squatted 800, benched 425, and deadlifted 7 at 220. At one point was ranked, I think in 2016, I was ranked in the top 10 all time in both the 220 and 242 weight classes. Back before everybody got stupid, crazy strong. Now I'm an amateur competitor. No, now I compete more so just for my own self-improvement. Definitely not competing at the level that I was previously, but still actively competing, taking some time away right now to do a bodybuilding show, which I'm really excited about. Definitely a new endeavor for me, and growing my business. So I've owned Master Athletic Performance. I started the company officially in 2015, but I have been coaching in the online capacity since 2007. I've coached at the collegiate level for about 6 years, coached privately for a number of years as well. And now with Master Athletic, it has been since two years I've been fully self-employed, but I held another position I had a full-time job as well before. I have also had an app. So I started the app MetroLife with a good friend of mine, Jane Nira. It was a great experience. Didn't work out the way that we wanted to. So I've since left that company. Jay is running the show over there. And I started Coach's Corner University with Tony Montgomery, and we're still operating that. We started that last year during the pandemic, and it's been steadily growing. We're in our second cohort of our certification course. We're hosting monthly webinars, and our website has hundreds of hours of pre-recorded content with the goal of bridging the gap between that postgraduate level education and hands-on in the trenches experience.
Holy shit. All right. So you have, and we've had conversations obviously prior to this. And one of the things that drew me into you as a person was a conversation that we had. When did we talk on the phone for the first time about that article for the MetroLife site?
Well, that must have been like
Remember?
3 years ago, man.
Yeah, so that was a while ago, but one of the reasons that we spoke is because we connected a lot on the emotional end of working with people and working with clients and understanding, because I have the counseling background that I've kind of interwoven into my own coaching and what I do for my athletes and clients. And you have been able to take that to the whole next level, because with the app MetroLife, you are not only just keeping tabs on statistics of their physical nature, but there was journaling in there. There was all sorts of things. And it was very next level, because I remember I downloaded it and I was using it for a while, and it allowed me to get back to what it was like to being in grad school for counseling again, because that was always part of it. You always had to kind of touch base with yourself and your interactions and what's around you. So what kind of led you into this direction? I know you've been coaching for a while, but in terms of really you said it yourself, bridging the gap, right?
Right.
There really is a gap there in coaching. What kind of brought you to that?
So it was actually my full-time job. So when I was the head strength coach at Queen's University here in Kingston, Ontario, I went through a pretty bad burnout period. And it was through that I actually left coaching entirely. Took a day job as a disability rehabilitation specialist, which essentially means I helped people who were on disability from work rehab themselves and come back to work. And that job consisted of both the physical and the mental components of health. So for the first time ever, I was in a situation dealing with individuals with mental health concerns. It's a really far stretch to go from motherfucking kids in the weight room to trying to convince Karen that going outside and getting some sunlight is a good idea. So that education process really led me to understand that the mind of someone can unlock so much potential, but it can also be one of the biggest barriers. And through the continuing education I did with my full-time job, I absolutely revamped my philosophy on coaching and how I communicate with people in order to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And that starts with, challenging their norms, challenging their language, challenging their current paradigms around whatever it is that they're doing, and teaching them that there is a better way. Um, that led me to looking at the impact that I can have on someone's life as a coach. And it's something that I take very seriously and that I encourage everyone who is coaching to recognize that you hold someone's goals in your hand, right? Like their entire life's goals, if it relates to training, are in your hands. You could either lead them to success or failure based on how you handle that situation. And that success or failure could shape a good portion of the rest of their life and their identity. So once you understand the importance of that responsibility, now you can look at, well, if I help this person with this, is there a greater impact from there? With MetroLife, the goal for me was, how can I scale my impact? How can I teach people skills that they can use every single day to improve their lives? And at first, it was fantastic. When our user base was small, it was quite hands-on. But as you grow as a tech company, you cease being a service provider and start being a marketing company.
Mm-hmm.
So when my position went from more so hands-on, you know, interaction with clients and speaking about the product to administration, I really didn't like it. So the next opportunity for me to scale my impact was Coach's Corner. Tony brought it up. He's like, listen, I really respect you. You've got, 2 master's degrees. Do you want to do this with me? I was like, 100%. So now we've had well over 300 coaches come through the platform, um, all of whom have learned a lot of what I have to offer in terms of continuing education, passed it along to their clients. And now you can see that tree build, right? So if I touch these 300 coaches and each one of them touches 50 clients and each one of those clients teaches something to someone else, now my scope of influence and the meta impact of what I'm doing is growing. And that's further transferred into now as I'm doing more business and coaching mentorship. How can I help people impact others to a greater degree? That's ultimately where I see my career going, is scaling this impact that I feel that I can have on people, changing the paradigm around online coaching and coaching in general, and putting the individual at the forefront of that throughout the process.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see, and you go over what you've done in the past and your history and your evolution. I wrote down the evolution of a coach, right?
Mhm.
You had mentioned it even in your even you were kind of talking about your shift from the college world to the mental health world. I mean, you could not be the same person. And I think coaches have, and I would love to hear your perspective on this, have this almost runway of progression when it comes to how they help people, right? It's like when you first start off, you're all excited. It's all about the X's and O's. It's about this exercise versus this exercise. And it's very much focused in around the tools.
Mhm.
But as you progress with your career and as you kind of get better and better with your experiences and your style, you develop and you start to understand what's really important, a layer deeper. And it's like
Hmm.
now you understand their behavior. Now you realize that how impactful their mental health is on their performance, on their training, on their day to day. So it almost gets to a point where you evolve out of whatever position you were in and you find that deeper and deeper meaning, but you're still technically a coach, right?
Hmm.
But it's interesting to see that and to even have this conversation because it you now versus you when you first started, title coach, not the
Hmm.
same fucking thing. Not
No,
even close.
not even close. And there is a massive evolution, and it's like the Dunning Kruger curve, right? Like you start, you know nothing, you learn a little bit, you feel like you know everything, and then the more you know, the more you know that you know
Mm-hmm.
less. Um, I'm definitely at that stage in my career. You know, I've been coaching since, like I said, since 2007. That's when I took my first client. That puts me at 15 years of coaching. I know that there is a lot more to learn for me, and I'm totally okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of my evolution of, well, that's great. I can learn more. When I first started, I thought I knew everything. And it was my biggest downfall. And it's one of the reasons why I couldn't be an effective coach. It doesn't matter. The old adage of, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care could not be more true.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you build those relationships? How do you how do you engender trust? Like, how do you develop a mutually beneficial relationship with this client where they get what you want and what they get what they want from you, and you get the satisfaction of partaking in that process?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's always been about giving and being able to give what that athlete needs, and that's going to be different for every person. So the evolution of me as a coach has just been the I hate to be like super ephemeral, but like it's the death of the ego.
Mm-hmm.
I say it all the time. I have no ego in this. I don't give a fuck what we do to get you from A to B, as long as it works and you are happy and you enjoy it. Now, that being said, there's certain things I'm not going to do because I don't believe they're safe or sustainable. But that's where, uh, the risk tolerance of the athlete is going to play into it. But for me, like, I don't have an ego in this, and I always want to learn more. I don't care if you did your first meet and you think you can give me advice on something. I will listen to it. The idea of being closed-minded, completely gone.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. We really connect a lot with that too, and that was pretty much my whole last year. Every time someone came to out to Elite, it was like I am here, and I talked to you about this. It's like I'm here to showcase your knowledge and to learn from you.
Mhm.
Right? This isn't the fucking Sam show. In fact, if this was the Sam show, I wouldn't even want to be a part of it
And now you are.
because I just no, right, yeah, this is it. But I appreciate that so much because it not only empowers the person that you're working with, that it's like,
Mhm.
oh, this process is mine, and
Mhm.
it's like I have a say in it. It's what I tell a lot all my clients right now is like I'm the co-pilot to this. Like you're the captain, you dictate where you want to go. I'm the co-pilot. I make sure that we don't crash into shit, and we make sure that we do this in a way that is effective, safe, and can get you where you want to be. So that sort of relationship building, how do you obviously now I'm going to ask from two different perspectives. How do you do that as the coach? And then how do you teach that process for the coaches that come to you for education and support?
How do I do it as a coach? I ask a lot of questions, for one. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very much like not necessarily probing, but like really asking people the whys of what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they plan on using this information that I'm giving them to get better, making sure that the language that they choose is appropriate, and just calling into question everything that they do. That quickly gets them to understand that I'm thinking about this from a deeper level than sets and reps. The other piece is education. So, and this will flow into how I teach it. So every bit of our service delivery is focused on education and communication. From the way that we do our check-ins, to the way that we do our logbooks for our clients, to the way that we do our training updates, to the way that we run our Discord channel, to the way that we have a shared drive, to the way that we communicate our administrative changes and things like that. We are always educating our clients on the whys of what we're doing. The next piece is we gather a ton of feedback from them. Subjective, objective, it all gets gathered and it all gets used, and we call into question everything that we use into how this athlete's behaviors are affecting their outcomes. So that level of awareness further reinforces that, hey, we give a shit. Now, in teaching that, I simply teach people how to develop systems that manufacture that sort of give a shit. Because it all starts from the beginning. So, hey, how do you operate your business? How do you run your business? Oh, here you go. Here's my terms of service document. This is how we run our business. This is my vacation time. This is how I'll handle you at a meet. This is how we run our check-ins. This is all of our processes. Okay, what's the cost? The cost is this. What's included in that? Here you go. Right? This
Mm-hmm.
is everything that you need to know. Then once it starts, communication the whole time. We use systems that allow people to see our faces, hear our voices, right? They hear the intonation in our voice rather than reading emails. They're getting face-to-face communication. They're getting access to us every single day via WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger to review video and talk about subjective feedback of their session. They're also recording the feedback of their session into a tracking sheet. That tracking sheet then gets a video review every week. And all of this stuff does two things. For me as a coach, it makes my work more efficient because I don't have to be typing all the time. But it increases the quality of service for the client because they hear my voice and see my face and have more access to me. That's how your systems dictate the relationships that you build. You have to have alignment through everything that you do in coaching, whether it be the reason you got into coaching, your branding, your language, your service delivery, the product, you as the product. There has to be alignment across all things. That's why, with Coach's Corner, we've had like, hey, like, do you guys offer programming? No, we don't. We're each coaches and you're welcome to work with us as your coach, but we're not going to give you a stock program because we don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fit with our model of education and individualization. So why would I offer a program? Oh, but you can make some money. Not worth it. Yeah. That's the reason I don't do
I
group training.
Right. Yeah. No, 100%. I really resonate with that tremendously, right? Because it's more common than not when you see somebody um, outside of our circle talking about this,
Mm-hmm.
um, mentioning they're doing coaching or online anything, and it's like, you know what they're doing, I know what they're doing, but that poor fucker that signed up for that doesn't know that things can be better, and they don't know that things can be more appropriate for what they need to do and more professional. And I think that that's that level of professional that you're bringing to this world, the online space, when it comes to coaching. That is so important because that's the thing that separates us from the apes. Right? It's like you're over here
Yeah.
trying to use our thumbs, and these fucking assholes over here are trying to bang sticks together and make fire, you know?
Well, that comes back to like my my company's mission and my personal mission is to raise the bar for coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And that resonates through all aspects of my business and businesses. Right? I raise the bar for coaching by providing the highest level of service possible through my business. I raise the bar by training my fucking ass off and practicing what I preach. I raise the bar by continuously educating those that work with me so that they can improve their services. I raise the bar by, you know, we're going to announce soon, we're going to have a mental health provider on our team. We're going to have
Mm-hmm.
an orthopedic provider on our team. I raise the bar by continuing to offer educational products at the top of the industry. Right? Everything I do in my professional career is to raise the bar for coaching. And I think what people get into this for is it's infinitely scalable. To make a lot of money coaching is not very challenging. And that might sound like, oh, he's in it for the money. I'm not in it for the money, but you can make a ton of fucking money. If you charge $300 a month and you have 100 clients, well, that's $30,000 a month. For those of you who aren't good at math like me, that's $360,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And for someone with a big following, that is not a hard sell, right? If you have a big enough following and enough people's eyes on you, you can sell 100 people on monthly coaching, even if that monthly coaching sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where I have dealt with a bit of a personal dilemma, and I'll ask you the question: should these people be called out? Because we all know
So
who they are.
you're right. Right. So this is interesting because I think you provided a certain amount of insight into this with Dave at Elite when they were talking about online coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard your perspective on it, and it shifted my thought process on it, because my initial knee jerk was, yeah, fuck them, set them on fire, chase them out with pitchforks. But after that continued sort of thought on the process, seeing them as more of a stepping stone into better things, I think is not only a much more appropriate reaction to the situation, they're doing us a service by providing the low end of the totem pole. So it's like, okay, it's like this is as bad as online coaching can get. But it filters out the people, and I think you mentioned this, filters out the people that want to get more. If they want to get more, they will. And they will look for more, and they will find people that are doing it differently.
That's part of it. So I'm a big believer, again, like you talk about alignment. So there should be also alignment within your own personal viewpoint. So for me, I don't believe in cancel culture. I just think
Mm-hmm.
it's stupid. Um, I believe that the recipe for hate speech or bad speech is better speech.
Mm-hmm.
So with my business, I'm not going to talk about what other people are doing. I'm just going to do what I do the highest level, and I'm going to invest myself into promotion, which is why I've started to post more on social media and put myself out there more, because I saw a gap. I saw the need for this signal through the noise, right? Through the static that is social media and all of the bullshit noise going on. I can be the signal. I can give the information that I have for free and give people a beacon of some sort of, we'll call it realistic expectations,
Mm-hmm.
evidence-based practice that is actually evidence-based and not stupid research bullshit based, right? And I can do it in a way that's digestible. There are so many different personalities on social media and so many different ways of doing things. You have, the overly scientific crowd who are going to use jargon and speak above people's heads, and they're going to sell a ton of their products because people love to feel stupid. Then you have the people on the other end who are just meat sticks talking about, you got to feel the stretch, brother. Talking like a John Anderson,
Yeah.
like deep
Yeah.
water training. I love that guy. I think he's the best.
He's
He can make as
he's
much money as
fucking
he wants. He's
unbelievable.
so funny.
Unbelievable.
Um, he's ever sent you random DMs?
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly like a bot, but it's just so
Yeah,
funny. Anyway,
that's so
um,
weird. I bought so much Bitcoin from him. It's unbelievable. Okay.
so, so you have both ends of the spectrum, and then you have people like myself in the middle, like yourself, who are going to look at the evidence from the research, look at the evidence from my experience, and then I'm going to communicate the information to my ideal client in a way that they're going to understand. Because
Mm-hmm.
I have multiple ideal clients. I have my ideal client as an education product. I have my ideal client as a mentorship client who's a coach. I have my ideal client as a potential training or nutrition client. So all three of those people are going to be different messages said in different ways, different tones, different intonations, different subject matter, but it's all going to be communicated in a way that they understand. And that's just what I'm trying to do. Like, I don't see these people as threats. I don't see these people as, I also believe in capitalism. Like, I'm a big fan of capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can make your money, that's great. I'm going to choose to make my money with integrity and do so with a service that I believe in and that aligns with my values. Plain and simple. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite example of this is like, I'm sure you get these DMs all the time. Hey, what do you think of this? I don't. I don't think of it.
And I'm definitely not going to think about it right
I'm
now.
not going to think about it. No. Yeah, since getting into bodybuilding, you're like, hey man, have you seen this guy's physique? I'm like, no, don't care.
Doesn't
How's your
matter.
physique doing? How's your physique doing, friend? Tell me about you. How was your day? Like, that's, I get into one of my good friends, Cody. He's 25, so he's about 10 years younger than me. Hey, have you seen so and so? I'm like, no man, but like, how's your training? How's your prep going? Tell me about you. And he's just so taken aback that I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about other people. It's just different.
Oh yeah. Well, so one of the things that I think, because there are a good chunk of coaches that listen to this, but even the athletes that are maybe shopping around for a coach or looking for more support online, how can, and this is something, this is going to be a question that I meant to ask you in person, but we'll just fucking do it now.
Sure.
Because a lot of coaches have a hard time. And there's one in particular, and I think you may know this person, that before I even say this, who it is, that aren't very good at selling themselves
Mm-hmm.
through advertising, right? It's like they do amazing work. They work with tremendous people. They've helped so many people feel better, move better, whatever it may be,
Mm-hmm.
perform better, but they're not good at the marketing end of things. They're not good. They choose to not, put themselves out there as much as they should, because a mutual friend that we have, that she's awesome. She's one of my favorite
Yep,
people on
for
this
sure.
planet.
Yeah, I know
It's like
exactly what you're talking
it's like I hype them up as
about. Yeah,
hard as I possibly can. Whenever somebody asks me if someone's all fucked up, something hurts, they're literally the first person I reach out
for sure.
to connect them. How can coaches like that get over that initial knee jerk response of like, I don't want to be the one that's like selling things, and I don't want, because there is that stigma involved initially when they're in that position.
Um, I mean, I deal with that too. I think that the most salesy you'll ever see me get is, "Hey, I just had two spots open up. Take it or leave it."
Mm-hmm.
Or, "My wait list is open. If you'd like to subscribe or if you'd like to apply, link is in my bio." That's probably, and I don't say it. I just put it in the bottom of my captions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if that person needs to. I don't think that person needs to sell themselves. What I do think is that person just needs to speak more, put their voice out there more, to do more of the sharing, because people are going to notice. The other thing is that that question's kind of multifactorial, because I like, she can't handle any more clients, right?
Right.
So this is one thing where, let's talk about systems, organization, and service delivery have to align. You only have so many hours in the day. You can only prioritize so much of those hours to work, especially when you've got a lot of other things on the go. So if it takes you X number of hours per client per week, well, there's a cap on your time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either work more hours or charge more for your coaching product. Like, it's a time for money exchange at the end of the day. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I work on with some coaches is like, let's optimize your systems so that that time per client per week comes down. And with the person you're talking about, what we did is we actually worked on cutting her time per client per week in half. And we were able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed her to handle more clients stress free, which allowed her to take on more personal stuff, focus more on the stuff that she has on the go personally, which
Mm-hmm.
was her priority, not scaling her business. She ended up scaling her business by proxy, but that wasn't the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that person who kind of needs to get on their own way, plain and simple, if you own an online business, you need an online presence. If you don't, you're going to fail. End of sentence.
Mm-hmm.
That online presence does not need to be posting 4 times a day.
Right.
Like I'm experimenting with it right now. It's pretty manageable because I do everything. I have a system for it, but you don't have to post 4 times a day. Until 6 months ago, all I ever used to post was pictures of my wife, my dogs, and my training.
Right. Yeah.
I had a thriving coaching business. I still do, but my priorities have changed. My mission has changed, and posting more often and sharing more content aligns with my current goals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing with that person who might feel like they need to get out of their own way. I would ask, what are their current goals? Does social media engagement align with their current goals? Does advertisement align with their current goals? If it does, well, let's look at how we develop a plan to share more information while still being, let's say, consistent with your personality, right? Like, not everyone's going to be super gregarious and outgoing, but you still need to put yourself out there because you're the product.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I said a lot of
I
nothing there, but
no, it's great because I think the coaching field, the online business of coaching, needs to go through this renaissance of being treated like a real business. Like
I would
if
agree
you
with
wanted
that.
to open a bakery, it's like you can only exist so long in your mom's kitchen making bread for your
Yeah.
friends. If you're serious, you have to put yourself out there. And in any other field, any other position, like there needs to be that time when you step out and you're like, assume the responsibility, assume, just do as much as you can for that.
Well,
But
are you
with
an
the
online coach? Are you an online coach or do you own a coaching business? Because
right,
those are two different things.
mm-hmm.
Like, just because you're self-employed doesn't make you an entrepreneur,
Right,
right? An
yeah,
entrepreneur has multiple businesses, multiple revenue streams, someone who's always growing.
mm-hmm.
If you just coach people online through a PayPal link, you don't own a business. You
Mm-hmm.
also don't have anything sustainable. So I would call into question, like, this is something that I don't think anyone who coaches online thinks about. Do you have a retirement savings plan, Sam? Do you have life insurance on your
Mm-hmm.
mortgage? Do you have a mortgage? Right? And so
Yeah,
all of these things, like, name me one person. Like, I know the industry is very young. Name me one person who has retired as a coach.
right,
I can think of a few, but they have only retired based on some legacy product, like a book or a course or something of that nature, or they sold off their business, or they still make revenue off coaches who coach for them. So if your business model isn't contingent on one of those three things or your financial investment into your future now, you think someone wants to hire a 65-year-old personal trainer online? You're not Boris Shako.
right.
And even Shako doesn't coach people anymore.
No.
So that's kind of my rant for the day. But that's yeah.
No, I agree because like I was saying, like what you're saying, what I'm saying, like there needs to be a change. There needs to be something better. People need to realize, like people need to grow the fuck up when it comes to this stuff. Like 100%. It
Are you talking about the
even
coach or
if
the client? The coach or
the I
the customer?
I would say the coach needs to, in terms of providing a better service. But I also think that the client needs to have these conversations with themselves to understand, like, if I'm really trying to hit a goal, I need to have the proper tools in place and go and spend the extra money to go to a professional to get, as opposed to this knee jerk sort of quick app fix sort of bullshit, right?
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and ask
Here we
you
go.
how many of your clients have ever approached you that knew exactly what they wanted, how they wanted it, and knew that you were the person to give it to them?
Slightly different situation due to like the low back thing with McGill, right? So a
Okay.
lot of my clients come specifically with like, hey, this sucks. I heard you're the guy to work with
Okay.
for this particular situation.
So
But
for
even with
most,
my power lifters, right? My power lifters are so into competing, right? They don't. I'll bite on this one. They don't know how best to get that process sorted. They don't know how to boost their performance, but
so
they are clear enough to know that they have a goal.
so within this day and age, people are very bad at delaying gratification. They're very good at looking at initial stimuli and biting. That's why TikTok is so famous, so
Yeah.
popular, right? Really
Yep.
quick hit information. And if you look at the type of client who is going to benefit from my style of coaching or yours, I firmly believe that I can help anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that a message of, I'm going to teach you sustainable behaviors, I'm going to teach you how to manage your nutrition and training long term, I'm going to get you to your goals in a sustainable fashion, hits as hard as get six pack abs in 20 minutes.
Get fucking jacked.
You're fucking jacked. And with some, some like super shred. I mean, I'm super shredded right now, but some super shredded dude. Like I worked that in there.
Here you go.
I should have
Nice
done the
play.
podcast shirtless. Um,
Nice play.
so, but that sort of messaging, right? Like remember shreds
Mm-hmm.
back in the day? So like you see
Yep.
these super attractive people with great bodies selling, the dream. Very few people have the wherewithal to ask second questions, which is why these things are successful. Which is why more of us, which is I'm going to play into your point is which is why more of us need to spread our message, right? Which is why more of us need to be that beacon of integrity to show people that hey, you might get progress with that plan, but in 3 years you're going to regain your weight back like 99% of other people,
Mm-hmm.
right? More of us need to put out good information to counteract the bullshit information because our voices can be louder because I firmly believe that there's more of us. I truly believe that there is more coaches trying to make a genuine positive difference than there are people who are just trying to make a quick buck and fuck people over.
Mm-hmm. And we see that when we, granted you were out just a couple weeks ago, we got to connect, we got to chat, um, but I think, and I think that this could be a good potential for like Coach's Corner, whatever you have it in store. But like people need to be in a place surrounded by these people to get reinvigorated on this process. Coaching's a very lonely business, right? You don't have that many teammates, right? Most people are just doing it on their own, even in person, right? College coach, it's like you
Yeah.
and your 75, 100, 200 athletes, whatever that is. And it's like, okay, and go. Having resources like that, like Coach's Corner, right? Like
A
everything you do
community of
with
coaches. Yeah.
community, that's the biggest thing. Because if people are battling in a one on a million, like just looking at social media as a coach and being like, my message is drowning in all of this other stuff, but they don't realize that they only get 100 views on something. It's like they're getting 100 sets of eyeballs. If
I
they
wrote,
had 50% of those people interested, holy shit, that's a lot of money.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's also a lot of potential influence that you can have. I think our perceptions are skewed a little bit based on like follower counts and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, the first reel that I collaborated with Elite FTS for my podcast got 35,000 views, 35,000
Mm-hmm.
plays.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, 35,000 people know my name. That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and not talking about selling people something, but that's 35,000 people who heard a positive message about nutrition and coaching. That's pretty cool. If that doesn't fire you up, you have no pulse. Stop
Oh,
coaching
I
now.
know. Yeah.
So I think the idea of operating a business with integrity, operating a business with alignment with your values, that is something I think a lot of people need to think more about, because it'll make the decision making along the way a lot easier. You know, we talked about you know, group training or stock programs. Why I don't necessarily do them. Well, they don't align with my values. I have them. I have them on my website. I have a stock program option on my website, but it costs more than 1 month of training with me. So whenever anyone contacts me about it, I say, you know what? Listen, for you, I will waive the 3 month minimum. I guarantee you'll get more out of 1 month coaching with me than you will out of a stock program. And guess what? They stick with me.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it's funny, right? Because the more I'm thinking about this, and obviously we can talk about this for friggin' ever, but going back to that thought process of social media, of eyeballs, of like, I only have X amount of followers, but so and so has this many and this and that. That's a good perspective to have, having 35,000 people check out your stuff, right? So, but I think a lot of the time we forget that social media, you're talking to people, like you're
Yeah.
giving information to people,
Yep.
not just like
The
a
void.
fucking abacus, right? Like it's just not a number clicker that just clicks up. Like
Mm-hmm.
you are making an impact. And it was a very strange last year for me, because being kind of thrust into social media, I had like a tiny baby following before, but like getting thrown into the eyes of literally millions of people. That video of me getting thwacked in the balls with the band, when I say millions of eyeballs, millions. And it's like, Cal fucking Dietz introduced himself to me as like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm Cal. Oh, you were the one that got hit in the balls with that band. I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like,
Like
this is
Joe Sullivan with the barbell across his back. It's like, hey, you got the
right. It's like,
barbell across your back.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, you forget that if you are in line, in alignment with what you know, what you believe, and you can act upon that, those messages are making resounding impacts on people, whether you know it or not. Right.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you get random messages from people all the time, just being like, hey, you've helped me with this and this, or like the stuff you're doing is awesome. Like when I got thrown into that shit, I can't tell you how many times I was like, what the fuck am I like? I thought I was in trouble every time. I was like, hey Sam, what's going on? I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, what did I do? Like, it was a
I
very
get
strange like mental shift.
I get like random people will randomly tag me and like, hey, learn this from Paul Oneid, and they'll post like their training. Or we had a guy at the gym approach Olivia, and I'm like, watch, I'm like, why is this guy talking to my wife? No,
Mm-hmm.
he approached Olivia. He's like, is that Paul Oneid? Like, I follow on Instagram. He's so cool. And she's like, you should go say hi to him. Oh, I can't do that.
It's like,
And
you absolutely can.
well, but the problem is like I've been told that I'm unapproachable. And I'm always smiling. And she's like, no,
No, you're fucking
you have
not.
you have hand tattoos, neck tattoos, and you know you're big. Like no one's gonna come talk to you. But like that sort of thing, to know that this person I've never met before heard a message from me and it resonated with them. That's why I love social media. Like I genuinely love social media because I see it as a tool. Those people who hate social media are consumed by it.
Mm-hmm.
I can post 4 times a day and my screen time still goes down every week.
Mm-hmm.
I post it, I engage with my posts, and then I leave. I serve my audience and I leave. Um, because it's a business tool for me. I don't use my explore page. I keep my app on a separate screen of my phone, so I have to scroll
Mm-hmm.
over to it. Right. And that's purely because I know how powerful it could be to attract my attention, but I have more important things to do, like helping people. You know, I'm not sharing reels and sharing TikToks and sharing all this shit with other people. Like, no, I'm programming, I'm coaching, I'm reviewing video, I'm writing content. And I think that's for social media to be effective for you as a coach, you have to view it as a tool, and a very, very, very powerful tool at that.
Yeah. And how would you say a newer coach, right? Just maybe just graduated, just wants to get into the field. What good advice could you give somebody to not necessarily, and I'm sure you've seen this, coaches jumping right into the online world without having a ton of background and experience with helping people and working with people,
Mhm.
thinking it's just like a quick fix. My perception of online coaching has shifted tremendously over the last couple of years. Seeing it not as the easy thing, it's way fucking harder to coach somebody well remotely than being in a room with them to be able to see all the things that they're doing during their session, right? So the coaches that are doing a good job of it, I know how fucking hard it is and how hard it can be to A, get started, but also B, to be continually growing and just developing your business, because it is a business. It's not just
It is a
a
business.
thing you do, right? It fuck man, like there are taxes involved. There's like investments involved. Like you need to have a certain amount of money to do this well and to grow and develop and to build. You need to keep putting money into it, just like any other business. What sort of advice would you give somebody that is just getting out of school for coaching and wants to kind of just jump into this world?
So number one, I would just start coaching people. If you've never coached anyone before in your life, I would just start coaching people and I wouldn't charge them. I would just say, hey, dude, you're my friend, you're my training partner. Can I write your program? And I would start coaching them through that. The other thing I would do is I would get a coach. I would get a coach to teach me how they coach and go through the process. This is what I did. So I'm doing a bodybuilding show. Number one, I did a course. So I took John Jewett's 6-month bodybuilding course, J3 University.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hired Luke Miller, who works for John, to do my prep.
Awesome.
So I could do the course and actually see the information being put into practice on me during the process.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a way to expedite your learning.
Awesome. I'm even
Now,
just that's unbelievable.
yeah. So now I have my own physique clients. I have one who's competing this coming weekend at the amateur Tampa show, and then
Mm-hmm.
he's likely going to qualify as a master's physique athlete to go to North Americans, which I'm going to go coach him in person. I'm also coaching my wife, who is like most likely going to get her pro card this year in wellness. So now I have evidence to support the tools that I've learned and implemented because I worked with a coach. So work with a coach, start coaching others. Number two is invest in continuing education. You know, not as a shameless plug, but Coach's Corner University is by far the best tool on the market because it is diverse. You know, there are a ton of fantastic tools. Kabuki Strength, great education platform. Prescript, great education platform. N1 Education, great platform. Um, these are all very niche subject matter platforms and courses. You will learn a ton, but it will be very niche and very specific. You need a little bit of everything. The other thing that I would do is I would start to network with people, start to meet other people, travel, go visit others, put yourself within the community. And then on next is I would hire a mentor. Someone who's been there before, knows where you are, has gotten from where you are to where they are. I mean, so I work with a business coach myself, Mark Morris, and Mark is fucking fantastic at what he does. And the reason I hired Mark was that, we had a personal relationship prior to that. He was very open to helping me with my questions really quickly. The reason I started working with Mark is that I saw what he built doing things that he loved doing. And I said, you know what? I have a really good business right now, but I know it can be better. I'm going to hire someone who can teach me how to make my business better because he did the same thing for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Now I'm doing that for others. Like everything you do, like the best way to expedite your learning is to learn from someone who's done it before. The aversion people have to investing in mentorship boggles my mind. You'll spend $3,000 on a 12-week course that you do in one niche subject market. What's the ROI on that? Maybe it'll take you a year to get out with like something like an FST, like a fascial stretch therapy. It's
Right.
really big at the commercial gyms around here. It's like $3,000 for the course. You know how many FST sessions you have to book to make back $3,000?
Mm-hmm.
I invested a couple $1,000s in my mentorship. I made that back within 3 weeks because I signed 2 more clients. Right? Like the ROI is immediate on mentorship.
And it's so funny because you'll see, and I'm not trying to turn this into like an anti fucking college rant or anything like that, but
I mean, you're
the
talking
edu
about 2 master's degrees, and I couldn't agree
I
more.
get I get it. I have a fucking master's, and it's like, okay, cool. But I see the benefit of putting yourself in a position to be like, all right, put your feet to the fire, hire somebody. I think that's a fucking great idea. I think it's a great idea, especially if you're friends with the person,
Yeah,
because that also shows them that you're supporting, you understand how valuable this information is. And
absolutely.
as someone who has, I mean, I still, whenever somebody asks me a question, I always fucking answer it. Right? That's just kind of
Yeah, of
what
course.
I
I would
do
say.
and whatever. But people don't understand what a mentor process is. Like, it is an expedited college education in real life execution on the thing you want to do. Like, it is the fastest rip the fucking band-aid off method to be getting where you want to be. Like, because it's like, all right, you know what you're doing, you've done this, cool, just show me how the fuck you're doing it, and then like, let me just do the thing too. Like, it's so fucking crazy that people
I
think it's like
literally,
a and there are people that are fucking doing shitty things, talking about, trying to scam people, rip people off, but they're everywhere. But no, I agree, you continue, you go.
I mean, like, I really give people the keys to the castle in terms of like, here's how I run my business. Why don't you run yours
Mm,
very similar, but in your own way, and it works because mine works.
right.
And it's always iterating, it's always getting better. I just recently switched to how I offer programming, how I run my check-in sheets for training purposes, how all of these things are always getting better, and
Hmm.
that's how it should be. If you always do things the way you've always done them, you're always going to get the same results. The problem is people don't want stagnation. They want someone to grow, they want someone to iterate. I have clients with me that started when I just used to send like Word document programs.
Nice.
Now I'm on Google Sheets like a fancy guy.
Yeah.
Now I use Loom. Now I use Google Drive. Like, there's a lot of tools that we use that I didn't have to use before because they didn't necessarily exist.
Yeah, and not only that, but you when you grow, new problems arise, right? New challenges
Oh,
arise.
absolutely. Absolutely. And like, I think it's really important to use these times, because coaching ebbs and flows. Like, very rarely will you be full all the time with clients. And you might, and if you are, that's great. But every time you go through some sort of transition, whether it be a price increase or, a service shift, there are ebbs and flows. And if you have opportunities to devote more time to working on your business rather than in your business, that's how your business keeps growing. And there should be non-negotiable tasks you do every week on your business that make the in the business work more efficient, of a higher quality, and all of these things.
Yeah,
It's systems, all systems. And like, I can preach systems all day. I don't want this to turn into a sales thing, but the number of people who tell me that they're online coaches and they work all the time boggles my mind,
hmm
because it's not like you don't. As an online coach, you do not need to be working all the time. If you have the systems in place, you could handle like over 100 clients. So why not spend time working on your systems now while your client load is low and you're building up, so that when you are able to scale your services to 100 clients, you can still handle that many people.
Right. And you're not running a 25 client model with 100 people now giving shitty service
Oh
to
my
those
God.
100 people,
Yep.
right? Like and it's funny, you can tell, like obviously you can tell the people in the business that A, first off, actually have clients,
Yeah.
and B, are doing what they need to do for those clients, because even interactions like this, like when I spoke to you, like we just even in person at Elite, just kind of just shooting the breeze, we were able to have conversations about deeper things. It's not like,
Yeah.
how do I get clients? It was like, all right, so this situation came up, and you're talking, the conversation has evolved, right, past the X's and Y's, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. The evolution of a coach is like, you need to constantly be surrounding yourself with people that are fucking awesome at what they do,
Yeah. And always
right?
trying to get
Because
better. Yep.
yeah, and even just that short amount of time I got to spend with you, I was just like, even you asking different questions that other people in my life just haven't asked. It's like, you
Yeah.
motherfucker, now this is gonna drive
Get it.
me nuts, right? But it's so beneficial because, like, I don't think people realize there's literal um, a a cost and a benefit to situations like that. It's like, yes, it could, if I hired you as a mentor, it's like, yes, it's going to cost money, but I fucking know for a fact, just even based on that one conversation alone, I'm like, this motherfucker is going to ruin my day in like the best way possible, and it's just going to just shift the focus, and it's just, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right, for sure. And you could like that cost benefit conversation extends everywhere in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big believer in life, there is no good or bad. There are trade-offs. There are
Mm-hmm.
consequences to your actions, both positive and negative. And when you make a decision, basically what you're saying is, I accept the positive consequences of this action and I accept the negative ones. And the
Mm-hmm.
cost to some of these actions, especially when you are holding true to your values, can be very high, but integrity is priceless. So if you hold yourself to a high level of integrity, there will be a lot of cost paid to that. Within the same breath, should I do back squats or high bar squats? Well, there's a cost benefit to both decisions. Should I train high volume or low volume? Should I train 5 days a week, 4 days a week? Should I eat an apple or a banana? All of these are cost benefit discussions. And they all, some have higher costs than others, but your decision making process needs to be rooted in objective decision making rather than uh, uh, emotional response.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has very much helped me, in that I'm a very even keel guy. It takes a lot to get me upset. It takes a lot to get me excited. I pretty much go with the flow most of the time. And that's because I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've kind of found my way back to the middle. And I live my life very much from a zero judgment standpoint. I don't judge other people on their actions, they're not mine. What I do is I learn from them, and I use that information to build out the rest of my decision making process, should I be placed in a similar position to what they were. Judgment is the worst thing that you can have in your life. I firmly
Mm-hmm.
believe that. And I will extend that to say judgment towards yourself
Mm-hmm.
as well. Judging others for their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you care? You don't have to live with those consequences.
Right. Right.
And then judgment onto yourself. The number of times that I have clients that feel guilt or shame associated with some sort of decision that they made, it all comes down to passing judgment on themselves. Because in that moment, the only time you're ever going to require, like, I got to word this properly. Negative judgment usually comes from a decision made without awareness. So if you make a decision based on an emotional response, you're likely going to make one that doesn't align with your values, and you're likely going to judge yourself negatively because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we back up and start rooting our decision making in objectivity, now we can remove judgment because we know the decision is the one that we want to take. That makes sense. That was really
No, it does. No, and it made me think back to just even a very basic stress management tactic of, okay, you have been confronted with a decision or you have to do something. The last thing you want to do, whether it's good or bad, is make a decision right in that moment. Give yourself 10 seconds. 10
yeah.
seconds. Separate yourself from that stimulus for just a little bit longer and see what changes, right? So this is the example I have is right after a powerlifting meet, you get so fucking excited, you just broke all these PRs. You're like, I'm going to sign up for another one right fucking now. It's going to be great. And it's like, okay. In that situation, people would take that as, oh, it's a good thing, right? Again, judgment. But it's also potentially a bad thing because you just peaked. You just did a meet. You need to let your body come back to baseline. You got to let yourself kind of heal, recover, do all those things. But also the negative side, someone cuts you off in traffic and you're like, I'm going to punch that fucker in his head. It's like, give yourself 10 seconds to breathe. Just 10 fucking big breaths and give yourself some time to separate from that. And you realize that the emotion was what was guiding that decision in the first place. And it wasn't coming from true north in whatever you have, in terms of your, whatever you have in terms of morals and what you want to line yourself up with. So no, I 100% agree because so soon or so quickly we just jump into the emotional sort of reaction. And again, it's a reaction, right? You're not coming from that place of like you said, objectivity.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. It's a sign of maturity, right? We learn that as we grow older. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I had a hard life by any means. Both my parents loved me. We never wanted for anything, but we all go through different struggles. And in life, the hardest thing you've done is the hardest thing you've done. So that's your basis of comparison. And I have been through some hardships in my life, and they have definitely shaped the mindset and the outlook that I have. And all I'm doing is trying to live my life in alignment with who I am and what I hold close to me in terms of values, and trying to pass that on to other people. Like I've done a lot in coaching.
Hmm.
I've done a lot in education. I've done a lot in my professional in my competition endeavors. All I try to do is pass on. All I try to do is pass on the impact that I can potentially have on one person and hope that that spreads. And that's really all I'm trying to do.
Well, shit. Paul, I cannot even thank you enough for jumping on. And I'm going to get a little gushy here, but one of the reasons why I started this podcast in the first place and wanted to carry on what I was doing at Elite, but just on a different sort of scale, is because I get to meet and have conversations with coaches just like you and people just like you that I truly believe are doing it for the right reasons, doing it for the betterment of everybody else in the industry. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you do, for the information you put out there, and everything you do with the companies you have, but also with Tony, with Coach's Corner. Like, I was lucky enough to be able to have an inside scoop into what you guys were doing. When Tony came out, I got to check out Coach's Corner. It's a fantastic tool. And honestly, like if you're a coach, if you're looking for education, if you're looking to really get a better grasp on creating a business through coaching, man, they gotta reach out to you. You got to make sure you let them know where can they find you, where can they check this stuff out.
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram at Paul Oneid, PAULONEID. My company is Master Athletic Performance, or www.masterathletic.com. And then Coach's Corner University is at Coach's Corner U on Instagram, or www.coachescorneru.com. We are currently advertising for our third cohort of our certification course, which is going to launch September 12th. We also have a webinar August 17th that is going to be on concurrent periodization for strength training.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of the webinar is $65, or if you're a member, it's free. And we also have a 2-week free trial on our membership. So you can get the webinar for free if you subscribe to be a member.
Awesome. And what I'll do is I'll get all that information from you and I'll put it in the show notes and everything for the show. So,
Perfect.
Paul, like I said, man, truly appreciate you. Truly appreciate what
Appreciate
you
you,
do.
man.
And guys, check them out. Make sure you follow, do all the things. And on behalf of myself and Paul here, hope you guys enjoy your day and we'll chat with you soon.
Later.